Check this bike out. This is a really cool find. This is a 1966 Honda C110 Cub Sport 50, also known as the Sport 50. And these were produced from 1960 to 1969, so about 9 years. And this one I actually bought from an online auction, sight unseen, and I really know nothing about it. All I know is that it was listed as non-running. So I have no idea how long it sat. Based on the license plate, it was last registered in 96. So what would that be? 29 years ago. So it possibly sat for almost 30 years. And this one is very rare because it's 100% complete and all original. Very hard to find these in all original condition, especially with the original paint and everything on it. So these came in red, white, black, and blue, I believe. The bluest one seems to be the hardest one to find. This is all the original paint on here, all the original chrome, original seat, you can see. Still says Honda on it. It has the tail lights, even the little fender flaps. Wheels look good. Chrome looks good there. Original Kickstarter. Original Keyhin carb. And you can see it goes right into the body there of the machine. And the tank looks pretty much flawless here. Little crack in the fender we're going to repair today. And then a little crack in the side panel here. You can see. Even has the original petcock and the key. And the original chain guard. So a lot of people used to ride these to work. They were a great option because they blocked the oil coming from the chain and it wouldn't splatter your pants. So that was why they had the chain guard like that. Almost looks like the original tires on here as well. Pretty dry rotted. But man, is it a clean, nice looking bike. So these bikes produce about 4.5 horsepower. Little 4-stroke engine, 50cc, and I believe it's 3-speed. And these bikes, top speed, are about 50 miles an hour, which is pretty fast for a 50cc 3-speed. So if we can get this thing running today, we can do a little top speed run on it, see how fast we can get it to go. For 480 bucks, I think we got a pretty good deal. So today's goal is going to be to get this one running and driving, and hopefully we can take it for the first ride. That would be awesome. So let's go ahead, kick this thing over, see if it has compression. We'll get this thing in the garage and we'll start tearing into it. Well, it doesn't feel like there's much compression. But usually a little 50cc doesn't have much. So hopefully there's enough to fire this thing up today. Well, we got this thing in the garage. Let's start going through the whole bike. The lines on this bike are absolutely awesome. This would be a great one to keep in a garage for display. I mean, it is really clean. Just really nice looking. So I'm excited to work on this one. Hopefully get this one running. Hopefully it wasn't bought for the sole purpose of being displayed. And hopefully the engine is salvageable. So we're gonna start with the oil first. So right behind the kickstart is the oil. There should be a little dipstick in here. Let's see. Oh yeah, oil looks brand new. Let's see. We're gonna right up to the top there, almost overfilled. Really clean, clear oil. So oil checks out plenty in there. All right, I don't believe I've looked in the tank yet, but looking at the mileage on it, pretty high mileage for a little 50cc bike. It's 6,433 miles, but gauge looks really nice. You can see it goes up to 60 miles an hour. So it's supposed to go about 50. We'll see if that gauge works when we take it for the first ride today. But you've got your headlight switch here, your horn there, and then it's got your neutral light here. And I believe that's your headlight light for the high beams. But let's take a look inside the gas tank now. Hopefully it's not extremely rusty. Ooh, it's a little bit rusty. Gas cap looks pretty good. Oh, it's not horrible. Just like a light surface rust. No big chunks in there or anything. There is gas in there. So gas tank is definitely salvageable. Let that sit with a little bit of vinegar in it and that should clear up pretty good. All right, let's see if it shifts. So I believe it's 1 down, 2 up. Let's see. I think it's opposite. I think it's 1 up, 2 down. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 1 up, 2 down. So it's shifting through the gears, that's good. Check this out. So there's actually a little hole right there and right there that cable goes through. That's how much detail they put into this bike. They didn't just put a bracket on the outside, they wanted to hide it, so they actually put it right into the side cover. That's quite something. What's behind this one? Yeah, look. Look at that side cover. They made little indents in it so that wire could fit. That's crazy. The detail is just insane. Wow, it looks like a brand new air filter in here. Let's get that off. Look at that. That has to be the original. Wow. Huh. That's really cool how that goes right into the frame there. Look at that. So there's a little area right in here. It goes right into the carb. All built in. Carb there. I don't think I've ever seen that before in a bike where it's just built right into the frame. That's super cool. And there's another little port here. Looks like there's a bunch of wires behind there. So just like the CT70, these frames are known to have a lot of mice nests and a lot of wires chewed up. And the wires actually go through the frame up to the front end. So a lot of those wires can get damaged. Hopefully it's not the same as the CT70 we worked on where all those wires are chewed up. Hopefully they're still intact. But yeah, really cool design by Honda here. So we're on the left side of the bike now. Right here, it looks like this was probably the original dealership that sold it. It says Honda, Hayes Honda Sales. And it says 403.5 Mill Street, Crawfordville, Indiana. And I'm guessing that's where this bike was bought for the first time. It might be a one owner bike. Well, maybe now 2 since I owned it. But yeah, very cool. This cover is a little bit damaged. We're gonna try to be very careful with it. And we're going to try to plastic weld all this cracking here. So we can take our plastic welder and go around those cracks and try to repair some of that before it breaks even more. I'm sure these side covers are not easy to find. Yeah, here is where the battery box was connected here. Oh, that's breaking off right here too. So it went like that. We've got a blue wire here. I'm guessing that's the ground, just like the CT70. And there's a red wire here. Here's a green wire, green and yellow. The heck is that? Oh, no way. That's the toolkit. I was like, what is that? Look at that, hidden in the frame is the original toolkit. No way. That sucker's packed full. What is in here? Look at that. That is awesome. Look at that, all the original tools in there. That is a sweet find. They're all packed in there. Doesn't look like that's ever been taken apart, really. Jeez. Oh, that was a bonus find there. Wow. I was like, what is that in there? Turns out the original toolkit. So yeah, this thing is really 100% complete. Wow. So the only wire I see that was chewed is, where is it? It's the blue one right here. It's not chewed all the way through. So we can probably hook up a battery and see what turns on, what lights up. All right, made up a couple wires here. One goes into the red. Like that. One goes into blue. Like that. And then we can hook up our battery. Alright, this is a 6-volt system. Here's a little 6-volt battery here. So positive to the red. Hopefully nothing smokes here. Let's see. Everything's hooked up. Let's see what happens when we turn the key. Nothing. Huh. Oh, horn works. Did that light up? No. Neutral light is not lighting up. Headlight is not working. Huh. It's funny the horn works though. Let's see the second switch here. Nothing. Horn still works. Neutral light is still not working. Alright, well, at least we're getting power up here. We know the horn works. Quick open up the headlight, see what's going on. Be nice if the lights worked, you know? It's weird, both the headlight and the tail light don't work, and the neutral light's not working either. Wonder if a mouse did some damage. Oh, here's a bulb that's out. Right here. Alright, all the wiring looks intact over here. Alright. Put the key switch on here. Yep, we're getting 6 volts up there. Getting it to the red. All right. was playing around with the shifter and we got the neutral light to come on. Well, that's good. So one more light working. All right, we got the headlight to work. So what we did was connect positive from the red coming in to the brown. So that means we're not getting positive to the brown. And what happens is, from the battery, red goes up to the ignition switch right here. The second switch right there should be sending power from the red to the brown wire that goes up to here. And then the brown wire comes up to the switch up here and then sends white positive down to the headlight. And then it sends brown back to the tail light. And the tail light is on when you do the brake right here. It's triggered by that little switch. You see the brake. And as you can see, now that's working too. So all the lights are working once you hook up positive to the brown. So I'm guessing what happened is that the switch contact in there is bad. Made a little wire up here. So actually there's a perfect spot for it. One going into red here. And then one going into brown right here. It was made for it. Perfect. Now we can get this back in. And we should have light. All right, let's see. Turn it on. There we go. Cool. Well, that works. All right, now that we got all the lights working and everything, let's go down to the spark plug and see if we have any spark here. So here is the boot. We're gonna take that off, see if that's making good contact, and we'll get that plug out. Oh, it looks like the plug's already coming out. Quick twist that out. So that was loose in there. Looks pretty black. Running an NGK CR7HS plug. It's pretty wet. Looks like it was getting fuel to it. All right, let's check for spark. All right, get this boot twisted off here. See if it was making any contact at all with the wire. Not a whole lot. Let's chop off a little bit of that. There we go, that's better. Boot looks pretty good on the inside there. Twist that back on. All right, moment of truth. Will we have spark? Let's see. All right, key on in the first position. Kick this thing over. Come on. Oh, look at that. Really good spark. Hopefully you guys can see it. Nice blue spark. Really nice blue spark. I'm extremely surprised this thing has spark. I was really not expecting that. Very bright blue consistent spark. That looks really good. We are going to check the points, make sure those are cleaned off, just to make sure. And then we'll go on to checking compression. So I believe underneath this cap is where the points are hiding. Pretty sure. Guess we'll find out here. You might have to take off the whole cover. Oh, there they are. So one set of points We're just gonna quick clean those off just to make sure they're not dirty. Then we'll come back and check compression. But that's where the points are. The easiest way to get to those would be to take off this cover, the shifter, and then the flywheel, and then you can clean those. But because we already have spark, we're just gonna do a quick light cleaning on it and just make them a little bit cleaner than what they are now, just because it's been sitting for probably 30 years. So. A little contact cleaner. Just spray in there a little bit. And then I'm just going to take our file. Alright, that looks pretty clean. Let's quick check and make sure we still have spark after the cleaning. I also want to see if those points are sparking in there. Turn it on here. Yeah, good spark. All right. I didn't see any sparking coming from the points either, so hopefully that condenser is good. Get our plug out of here. Let's check for compression. Compression gauge going in. Alright. Get this hooked up. So we're looking for over 100 PSI. If we have over 100, we should be pretty good. All right, we're looking for right in this range. Right between 100 and 150 is what we're looking for. Throttle open, give you a couple kicks. Oh yeah. Haha. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. What did we get? 100, like 125 PSI. That's really good. For a little 50cc, not bad at all. So compression checks out. Let's move on to checking the valves. Get these valve caps off. 17 mil. Oh. There's one on the bottom here. There we go. See if there's oil coming out of this one. Yep, there's oil. It's a good sign down in there. Nope. Nope. So they might be a little bit tight. Let's get this thing to top dead center. All right, we're gonna rotate the flywheel around until we see a T. And then we know we're at top dead center here. Let's see here. A little bit further. Right there. All right, we're right at top dead center. You can clearly see the T right there. T with a line. I'm just gonna line up with that little notch right there. See that? So right there we are top dead center. Let's see if we're on the compression stroke. We should feel clearance between the valves here. Yep, clearance there. You can feel it knocking. Ooh, exhaust is tight. Exhaust is really tight. I don't feel any clearance there. So exhaust needs to be adjusted. The intake and the exhaust are both set to 0.02 of an inch. So exhaust seems like there's no clearance there at all. Intake feels like it might be correct. We've got our 0.02 feeler gauge here. I'm guessing this one's gonna be fine. Yep, intake slides right in. That feels good. Let's see what the exhaust is like. Exhaust is tight. That's good right there. Perfect. You hear it clicking? Alright, so both of those are open now. Now we're going to recheck compression and see if that compression went up at all. Let's see what we get. It jumped up a little bit. We're at 10, 20, 30, 130 psi. Well, like 132, 131. Not bad, so it jumped up a little bit. Alright, so far we're getting pretty lucky. We've got great spark, really good compression at 130 psi. Let's see what's going on with the carb now. So I can see that there's a tube going down into the intake valve here. Not really sure what that's for. Is it a breather line? I don't know. And then here, there's a rubber tube going from the carb into the intake piece here. And it looks like that rubber has seen better days. So let's first start with the petcock up here. We're going to see if that's still working. So we'll get this gas line off. That is really brittle on there. That is hardened on there really bad. Oh. Pulled the brass pieces right out. Nothing. So petcock is not working. Oh, there we go. There's gas coming. Is that off right there? So reserve must be right there. Good. It's actually working. That must be on. And then reserve. Cool. So actually, petcock looks good. All right, we can get the carb off next. So let's break off this line here first and impact. You don't want to break the line. Feels like oil in there. Yeah, that might be the oil line. Looking at it, there's another line coming up through here. I think it pumps it down from here. You can see that's where the line begins, right down here. Pumps it up through there, goes into the carb, and comes into the intake valve. So that's oil. Crazy. Interesting way to do that, going through the carb. One on the other side. I have to get this oil line off too over here. Nut off. We're going to heat up the intake tube here. I'm wondering if we should just take off this whole tube. There we go. Car can come out. Off. Oh, that came off easy. Slide looks good. Alright. Wondering if we should take off that rubber piece or just leave that on. Might just leave that on and soak that in the ultrasonic cleaner along with the carb. We might have to cover some of that with a gasket maker until we can get a new replacement. You can see how cracked that is. That would cause a major air leak. Alright, let's dig into this carb here. Get this off. Bowl should come right off of here. Ooh. A little rusty in there. You can see all the rust. So I'm guessing it was getting it from the gas tank. Looks like a combination of rust and old gas in there. It's not horrible, but it is pretty bad. Alright, let's see if the float pin comes out. Oh yeah. Cool. Let's see if that has any gas in it. Don't hear anything. So float should be good. Just a little dirty. Needle. Doesn't look too bad. The tip looks a little bit worn down, you can see. It's a little bit rounded off. So hopefully that'll be fine. Seat is dirty in there. You've got your main jet here. See, we're running for a main jet. Got the emulsion tube coming out as well. All those holes are clogged. Main jet is not clogged, surprisingly. Let's see what the size is. Looks like an 88 main. It's actually pretty big for a little 50cc. Alright, and then the pilot's way down in there. Got all the gunk coming out of there. There we go. I don't know if we can tell the size on that one. Lots of gunk. Oh, 35. It's the same as the CT70. That is definitely clogged, heavily clogged. It's really bad. Alright, and then the next one, we've got the fuel screw right here. So let's see how many turns in. Jeez. You're right there. Half a turn, 1 turn, 1.5, about 2 turns on the fuel screw. That is really gunked up. There's a little spring in there too. Grab that out. Alright, then you've got your idle adjust here, and your choke. So up is on. There's a little arrow with an open sign. So open is down. See, it's open. Closed is up. And then of course you've got the, looks like damaged intake boot here. We're gonna have to put some gasket maker around. But that's pretty much the whole carb. Not a whole lot to it. So we can let that sit in the ultrasonic cleaner for a little bit. Alright, there's the before. I'll let these sit for about 30 minutes. Should be enough time. A little before shot, and then we'll show you guys after it's cleaned out. And all the jets are in there. Alright, carb is out of the ultrasonic cleaner. Looking pretty darn good. Let that sit for about 30 minutes. Cleaned it right up. Here's the bowl. Perfect. And then the jets. You can see are now cleaned off, looking good. Pilot's all clear. So we can put this car back together, get back on the bike. Alright, change of plans. We're just using the coolant line for now. That's the only diameter line I had. Change of plans here. We're going to be using this coolant line. I got this from an old dirt bike. And that's the only diameter line that matched this tubing. So that's what we're going to have to use. Hopefully it's gas resistant. I didn't really trust that gasket maker drying on that other piece and sealing up tight. It was so dry rotted that I don't think it would have sealed. So this should be better than that at least. Alright, getting our slide back in here. That's in. That's on there. Now we can get our carb back on here. All right, we've got all the oil lines on the other side as well. Let's drain out this gas tank. So we'll drain out the rest of it. See, it's draining out. See what that gas looks like in there. Alright, finally got to the last of it here. As you can see, that's some pretty nasty looking gas that was in there. That is dark. So good thing we're changing that out. So we can get that one on there. We're gonna have to kind of loop it around here. Like that. Let's see if we can go like in like a loop here. I think that'll be fine. Get our spark plug back in here. Alright, let's see if gas is flowing here. Alright, I think it's time for the first startup. So we confirmed there's good spark, really good compression at 130 psi, valves are adjusted correctly. We cleaned up the carburetor, all the jets, we added fresh fuel. So let's give it a go and see how many kicks it'll take. I think this is the first start in probably close to 30 years. Choke it. Idle is really high. Try that again. It's revving up like crazy. That's not good. The idle adjust screw is all the way in. There we go. That sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good. No leaking from anywhere. Engine sounds good. No smoke out of the exhaust. Tail lights on now. Yeah, it's revving out really good. I can see why this thing goes 50 miles an hour. Comes right back down to idle. Oh yeah. Sounds powerful. For a little 50cc, that's crazy. Yeah, that sounds really good. Pretty happy with the way it sounds. Definitely revs out all the way. All right, let's shut it off and see if it starts right back up. Not too bad. Wow. That is crazy. First time it's ran in probably 30 years. Alright, I think we're ready for the first test drive. Alright, now that we got this thing running good, let's try to fix up this cover. So you can see it's cracking all over the place here. Let's put a couple staples in it and then we can plastic weld it. I think it went through the cover there. Oops. That's not good. You might have to try to just plastic weld the rest. I got that main corner piece though. See the cracks from that side are repaired. That looks good. Good enough. On the front fender, there's some tape holding this one on. Alright, it's holding. Well, this one's all back together. Everything is done, completed. Let's go take it for the first ride, see if it shifts, and see if the clutch is working. Well, I gotta say, it's probably running as good as it can run. I mean, it's only a little 4.5 horsepower, so there's not much torque, but once you get going, it's pretty fast. I got up to 45 on this stretch here, so it would definitely go 50 on the road in a straight line. So it definitely gets up to speed and has plenty of power. I mean, for a little 50cc, what do you expect, you know? But cruising around town, this thing would be awesome. So this one's all fixed up. Both brakes work, starts right up first kick every time. All the lights are working, no leaking. So this one's all good to go. Well, we just got back home after the first ride and everything went very smoothly. Shifts through all the gears, both brakes work, has good power. So this one is officially fixed. And it didn't take too much today. It was just a simple carb clean, new gas line, new filter, new hose here for the intake, and then a valve adjustment. And that was basically it. We had spark, we had good compression right away, so it didn't take a whole lot. And we got pretty darn lucky on this one, considering we bought this one from an auction sight unseen. I knew nothing about this bike, so I was definitely expecting the worst, and it turned out pretty decent. So very happy with the price we paid for it. We paid $480 for it, and these bikes go for right around $1,500–1,600 in this condition. And this is all original, 100% complete. So hopefully you guys enjoyed going through this bike, diagnosing it, getting it to run, and then doing the first ride in almost 30 years. This one turned out pretty good, and we got pretty lucky on it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for the next video, and until next time, we are